Oh, you know what I can show you?
Don't show me your
So,
feet.
I got on OBS. So I have a whole bunch of backgrounds. So I want you to decide which one I should use. I have the
Okay.
brick one, boring old. I already did that last
Shutterstock
episode.
podcast.
Yep, said podcast on my end.
Do they all
everything's
have
backwards.
just Shutterstock on them?
Certainly not. And then
I do know the story behind this photo.
I know it's such a good story. This monkey literally owns this picture.
Yeah,
If you
by
didn't know.
right of U.S. copyright. This is honestly, this photo is the reason
It's
why
like a
AI.
landmark case.
This is
Yeah.
the reason why AI is having so much problems. Is because this case established that you need to be a human being
Yep.
to have copyrights.
No, establish you don't need to be a human being to have copyrights.
Or no,
Because
it
this
established
monkey
that
owns
if
this.
you're the creative being,
Mm-hmm.
it
Which
was
this
like
monkey was.
This one, yeah, because he actually hit the button on the shutter,
Yep.
and that
Yep.
makes it his creative work.
Mm-hmm.
But then that is mixed with a different case that says that you can't have copyright protections if you're not a human being, and so that's in the loophole that AI is in right now, where you can't copyright any AI. You can't copyright anything made with AI technically because you didn't do the creative act. The AI did the creative act, but then also the AI can't reap any copyright benefits because AI isn't a person.
I think we all AI stuff should just also be owned by this monkey.
I'd be down for that.
I'd be down for that. Give me 1 second. Somebody's knocking on my door.
Great cold open.
Seth, look at
Your microphone.
He's knocking. He knew that I was recording, and he just decided to be knocking on my door the whole time.
He literally
Yes,
told me
baby.
last night that he
Yep.
like wanted to be on the podcast, and I pretended I would let him on.
Oh, it's too
he
late,
found
bro.
his way in.
I'm on, dog.
Oh no.
I'm the first guest. Are we talking about Frank Ocean's Blonde today? Is that the album?
No,
we're
that's
reviewing?
next week.
That's next week. Okay.
So what did you think about Boxcar Racer by Boxcar Racer?
Oh, I loved it. Yeah.
What was your favorite song?
The Boxcar Racer.
Get out! Do your homework. Next time, and maybe we'll let you come. You freaking
Dude,
knocking over.
I want to be on, bro. I'll be on.
Sure.
Okay? I'm looking forward to it, fellas.
Here's also Kayleen.
Oh, we have-
monkey background.
We have so many guests for like episode
hear
2.
Yeah, this is a big production. We have so many guests.
Also, I was gonna
Speaking
say,
of- oh, no, I don't
when
have
you
any.
walked away, it looked really funny because you set your microphone down, and so it looked like
Wait,
the
wait,
monkey
keep
was my
speaking. I'll try
co-host.
and figure out what you're saying.
It looked like he was like, "Here's what I think of Boxcar Racer."
I think that one pretty good. Okay.
Monkeys
Get out.
don't sound
Okay, we
like
have to
Mickey.
actually
Wait, you speak, Seth, and I'll try and figure out what you're saying.
Hello.
Hello.
Wow, that's a fun game. Get out. And now you'd know that I'm wearing pajamas. This whole podcast is a farce. Okay. All right,
gathered
let's
as
begin.
Okay.
Okay, let me put back my normal background. Okay. Okay.
Going back to Brick. Going back to Joe Rogan Brick.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just the one that you pay the least attention to. Okay. Seth, what is this? Who are we?
Today,
What is this?
What is this? This is Musicsplaining.
Facts.
So, yeah, we're going to
Elaborate.
be talking about an album today that you and me have listened to a bunch, and we are going to just be talking about our thoughts on it from the perspective of a couple of songwriters and also some really heavy opinionated people.
Yeah. Very, very opinionated people. Just generally, I'd say.
Yeah. Some would say too opinionated, but
Well, one of us is. And I think we both know who it is.
are you going to pretend like you're not insanely opinionated?
I'm definitely the.
Also,
more
on my
opinionated.
end, you're pointing the wrong
Yeah, I know. I
direction.
did that on purpose. I was like, oh, wait, no, it's funnier if I did that.
This guy behind me.
Yeah. This guy, he's opinionated. Wait. This
Monkey.
guy.
This guy's opinionated.
The third member of our podcast. Okay. We're professionals, Seth.
Yes.
Get it together.
I'm together.
So today we're talking about Boxcar Racer by Boxcar Racer. Do you know any of the context behind this song?
I know some context behind this. I can tell you what I think I know, and then you can tell me if I'm right or wrong.
Yeah.
So,
So start.
what I know is that this is obviously like a side project of Blink, and that
Close.
It is Tom DeLonge and Travis Barker, but not Mark Hoppus, and that
Almost perfectly correct. Yes.
um, but what I've looked up is basically this is like after like the 2002 Blink era. So I don't think this was like Carry Me
Close.
Home. Uh,
So that album, Enema of the State is the name of that album. I'm gonna love when we do Blink-182 records because we're just gonna have to say that over and over again. Um, that was '99, and
oh,
then
okay.
their next album, Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, I believe was 2001, and so this album, it came out uh, early 2002. So do you know what that means? Anytime there's an
9/11.
album, yep, this whole album is actually about 9/11. This
Oh,
literally is.
it
A
actually
significant
is.
part of this is about 9/11. They
Okay.
had a winter tour. Blink-182 had a winter tour that they were going to do, and then it got canceled because of 9/11. And then Tom had such bad back pain that he was being prescribed lots and lots of medication for, which, this is early 2000s, so everybody was getting prescribed lots and lots of medication.
Yeah.
Um, but he was just feeling like garbage. They weren't touring, weren't doing anything, and so he started this project to kind of like filter his thoughts through and just to have like a different creative outlet. So that's generally what it's about. And when he started it, he was like, okay, I should get a band together. And so here's these buddies of mine that can play guitar and bass also with me. And he's like, if I want a drummer, why not just do the best drummer I know, which is Travis? And so then that's kind of a weird thing of like, if you, me, and Skylar were in a band, and I was like, I want to start a new band, and also Skylar's coming with me. But it's not just to get you out, Seth. It's just because I want to start a new band.
I
You know what I
I
mean?
looked up a little bit of the history, and this was like the genesis of like the
Yep.
split between Tom and Mark.
Yeah.
But then I
Which is
also
great to talk about now because they're back together at this point in
yeah,
time.
which is great. All it took was one of them getting cancer.
Yeah. Honestly.
But one thing that I did know musically is that a lot of people look at this as like Tom DeLonge getting into like post-hardcore stuff, like Quicksand, and like, okay, I have these moodier songs that would not work in Blink.
Yeah. I know that this album is directly influenced by Violent Femmes. Do you know Violent Femmes?
I do not.
Oh, we got to do a Violent Femmes album if you don't know them. But they're like Violent Femmes I would describe as acoustic punk. Because this was originally meant to be an acoustic album. And then of course when you have two guitar players, a bass player, and a drummer, it doesn't end up being an acoustic album.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what it was inspired by, which you can see in some of the songs. It kind of bled through the more acoustic elements, but it obviously did not end up being that. But that was the original idea, was to be like, all I do is this punk stuff. Like, I'm gonna take it to like a more acoustic feeling. But obviously didn't end up that way, because when you put Travis Barker in a room, all you want to do is write punk music. But the other people in the band are Travis and then two like friends of Tom's.
Okay.
I don't think even they have Wikipedia pages last time I was looking. But it like you could see from Mark's perspective why this feels like I want to start a band with anybody but Mark.
Yeah. 100%.
But we'll get back to that later. Because there's more about that. Do you have any more thoughts about like knowing about the album at large, or do you want to just get into it?
We can just kind of get into it.
One more thing. This album came out the year I was born, just to make you feel old. My dad has a crackpot theory about this album where he's like, they actually didn't hate each other the whole time. And the reason he made this album was so that the record executive could be like, oh, you guys can make more than just pop punk music. Now you're allowed to do whatever. And so since that, they had freedom to do whatever they want. And I'm like, they literally have said, like, this is, but that's just, like, my dad's crackpot theory is like, actually, it didn't happen the whole time. They never were mad at each other.
Yeah,
So-
I doubt they made this record and then
Yeah, I don't
the
think that's
label
right.
was like, now we'll let you start Angels
Yeah.
and Airwaves.
Yeah. I think this is on a different label, too.
Yeah. Well, now we'll let you pick up a hollow body guitar and play
Yeah.
delay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now to the
What- So I guess it is I don't remember if we talked about this, but like what is your personal experience encounters with this record and this
so
artist and this genre?
my dad showed me this. He showed me, I think, Green Day, and then that took me to Blink-182, which he knew about. But like he introduced me into punk, and then eventually I found this just looking through, just being a fan of Blink-182, and I found it around in middle school time, which you'll find out most of the reason why this album like was such a classic to me in my brain is that it's a very depressing album, and I found this right as I started to get really depressed.
Let's go.
So there's a lot of those themes there. Looking back on this, it's like there's aspects where it's like that's not talking about depression, but I thought it was the whole time,
Yeah.
or like in my mind that's what it was talking about, or maybe I was just like reading too much into it, and stuff of like, oh, I understand why that like sat with me so much that I didn't even know that this is what it's about, you know. So that's why it was kind of so attached to me at that point, and then also just I love Blink. Blink-182 is one of my favorite bands. This album used to be my favorite album. Fun fact.
Ooh. A dethroned number one.
Yep. Which we'll see how far it fell once we get to the rating section. But yeah, that's my personal experience with it. So do you want to go song by song?
Yeah, we can just go for that.
Okay. So, first song, I Feel So. My
Kind
first-
of a bummer because in my opinion, best song on the record.
I would almost agree. Blink-182 always does great openers, and I think Tom is obviously a part of that because, you know, the same is true about this, that this is such a killer opener to this album. The first opening where it's just like this kind of off-kilter beat with a guitar just and just like going crazy and then just letting it ring out the whole time with the like little acoustic part that leads into it. I feel like when he was writing this album, he was like, I don't like how like smooth all the dynamics are in Blink songs, so I'm just gonna hard cut everything. And this was the song that was like, I'm doing that with everything. Everything's just getting a hard cut, like, and then I'm just doing the next part of the song. Which I think on this song works very, very well.
Yeah. As an experiment, jump back and forth between this song and then like something from the second Blink record. It's very jarring because it does, I mean, it's part of like their sound from that
Yeah.
era, but like
You
Blink,
can tell that it's from one of the guys at Blink-182, but
yeah, but like Blink, when you listen to Blink stuff, it's like this constant like da 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 da, like this
yeah.
sort of pulsing thing going on. So having something like this where there are moments where it will die down to an acoustic for like a bar and then jump up a little bit and then jump up, like it's very dynamic in its like arrangement comparatively.
Yeah, which I think, in general, one of my favorite parts about this album is I feel like that like jarriness of all the instrumentals and the lyrics match really well in a lot of the songs, especially with this one. The lyrics are just like straight up like, I feel bad, I don't feel good, I feel bad, everything feels bad, everything's bad right now. Which, you know, middle school me was like, yes, perfect. And I feel like I mean, the lyrics are pretty simple. The chorus is literally, I feel so mad, I feel so angry, I feel so callous, so lost, confused again. I feel so cheap, so used, unfaithful. Let's start over. Like, that's pretty simple. Like, but I feel like, especially, a lot of this context is like 9/11 just happened. So it's like everybody felt like this.
I feel so mad. I feel so
Yeah.
angry.
Yeah.
George Bush was just like, I feel so mad. I feel so angry.
Okay. Yeah. I will just talk more about that in a later song. But like, I feel like the instrumental on this matches perfectly, where it's just like, I'm upset, I'm thinking about stuff, I'm upset, and I feel like the guitar parts match that super well when they kind of like descend into something as you kind of like feel that deeper like sadness, and then also Travis Barker, such a legend on drums. So happy that he's on this album. He's just so good.
It's so funny because now I've seen, as a drummer, was like, drums were like my main instrument for a long time, and I've seen this sort of like circle happen with him where people talk about him as like an insane drummer, and then people will try to be contrarian and be like, oh, actually he's the most overrated drummer ever, and now it's coming back around to like, no, he's actually like really good.
Yeah.
He's the example of
died.
He's the example of learn your rudiments and the whole kit opens up.
Yep, exactly. And I feel like the main thing that I think people accuse him for is overplaying, which I don't think he really does on this album.
He's in a context. He's in a musical context where it works to overplay. You have such simple guitar parts. If you were to overplay,
this would be the genre to do so.
Also, I never want to hear a jazz drummer say that he is overplaying.
Stupid. Yeah. Okay. Anything else about the first song?
To me, it's funny because when I was listening to it, it almost gave me a mixture of like Red Jumpsuit Apparatus and like Rage Against. Like, it had that texture to it, which I think works really well. But then it's like, I could tell, even though like this was them going for like post-hardcore vibes, it's still like a Blink person going for post-hardcore vibes. You can still hear like a very like pop punk early aughts
like songwriting type of
like,
you took that songwriter and you're like, do it in this genre.
Like a lot of post-hardcore stuff around this time, sometimes it straight up sounds like Metallica. Yeah. And this does not. So it's like you can hear that. I mean, obviously, like, Tom is, I feel like more and more people have become, it's funny that he had to leave Blink before people realized it. It's like, actually, Tom is like a large part of like the sound of Blink. But I liked this song. I feel like it's like I said, it's my favorite off the record, just because dynamically it has a lot going on, but then also like that stuff, like the piano intro that like comes in and you're like, this does not feel like it makes sense until the guitar starts playing it.
It just like I feel like it's a perfect first song into the album. I don't know what else to say. I love the dynamics of that song. It's a fun song.
Awesome. Then I think that's all I had for that one.
Okay. Next song. All Systems Go.
Sick.
What are your thoughts on this song? What do you think?
I like it. It's funny how, like, so a little backstory with me. I didn't really grow up with Blink, because like I wasn't really a huge Blink fan, because I had a sister who was like I think I talked about it last episode, but I have a sister who's like 12 years older than me, and so she was really into MXPX, which was like the era like just before Blink, and then when I finally was like, I'm gonna get into like pop punk stuff, I got into stuff like A Day to Remember, which was like the era after Blink, and so Blink is this sort of like, I never actually listened to them that much. I mean, I knew Carry Me Home like everybody else, but like I didn't have that much of an attachment to them as a band. I think I learned more Travis Barker drum rudiments than I had listened to Blink songs.
Blink songs,
But it's interesting to go back to this now because I almost feel like everybody I know in the pop punk world says that they were inspired by Blink. Like
Yeah.
Blink was like their breakthrough moment. It was either that or it was Dookie by Green Day.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm listening to like this album now, Boxcar Racer, and I'm like, I feel like I hear more Boxcar Racer in modern pop punk than I hear actual like Blink. Like if you listen to like era Blink we're talking about, it's very like it's like closer to like the Germs or like actual like punk root stuff. Like there's only like 1 or 2 degrees of separation from the actual like 80s punk scene or the British like Sex Pistols punk stuff. Whereas this feels more emo-esque, and I feel like this is a lot more like, I don't want to say forward thinking, but it's like this sound is what stuff eventually started to sound like.
Yeah. I think in a weird way it is definitely ahead of its time. Generally, I don't think it's like this prophetic everyone.
No.
Like, they knew that it was going to be like this. It's just I think in this very specific instance, Tom was thinking in a way that a lot of people in the future would be thinking about punk music. So All Systems Go. Next song. This riff, the main riff, there's like 2 or 3 riffs in here that sound similar and are used in Blink songs in the future. That it's like when I first hear songs, I'm like like that kind of thing is used in a whole bunch of Blink songs, a whole bunch of Boxcar Racer songs. That I think they're different enough that it doesn't just sound like you did the same song but different. But it is funny to listen to and be like, what song is this? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Every time I listen. So this song, again, big important part of this song. Right after 9/11. That's exactly
we're
what
on,
the song
you're talking
is about.
Watch the World, right?
I'm talking about wait, let me check. I'm talking about the right song?
All right, I thought you said next song. If we're still on All Systems Go, then we're good.
Yeah, All Systems Go. We didn't talk about the specific song yet.
Okay. But
Yeah.
when you look at we'll get to it at some point, but there is one song that is about like a dude jumping off of a building.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit more like on point for like, okay, I know what they're talking about. But yeah, when you look at this, you can be like, okay, I can see. Like, it's funny because I didn't connect those dots until you said it out loud. But then after you say it, I'm like, oh, well, of course.
That makes so much sense. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the second line of the song is, the government is lying, the youth, they won't believe them.
Yeah.
Which, fun fact, Tom is a huge conspiracy theorist.
Yes.
Huge conspiracy theorist. His day job, other than Blink-182 right now, is a company he founded that is like trying to look for aliens. Like, that's straight up, like, the company that he started is trying to look for aliens. And fun fact,
they found them.
His company was actually one of the bigger like government showing like a UFO, not meaning like this is an alien, meaning unidentified flying object. We don't know what this is. Like, a lot of that has come from his company. So they're like straight up doing, like, whether you believe in aliens or not, like, if somebody's gonna find it, it's gonna be Tom DeLonge.
I'm trying to think of what would be a bigger like accomplishment. Would it be like the fact that we've discovered alien life, or that it would be discovered by
Tom
the
DeLonge?
singer of Blink-182?
That would be amazing. That would be the best timeline. That'd be so funny.
He encounters them for the first time, and they're just like, "Wait a minute, is that Tom DeLonge?
Is that Tom DeLonge from Blink-182?
Aliens,
they know
be
about
like,
Blink-182.
Is that Tom DeLonge?
Oh god. Okay. Yeah. This song, I like it.
Yeah.
I think I forgot to say in the last song, it sets the precedent of having like an instrumental bridge, that I feel like almost all the songs have.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of the times it works very well. On this song, I feel like it works pretty good. The instrumental bridge, the kind of like I think as you're like, especially it being like kind of a not conspiracy, but like distrusting song about like authorities have failed us. Like the kind of moving around synths in the head, the like the bending guitar notes. It's very much like weird. Everything's changing. That I feel like it fits the song. For sure. It's
Yeah.
not just like, oh, we put in something here.
Yeah, there's like that weird synth at 214 that's like where he's just like aliens. But
yeah, it's literally just. Can I hide an alien noise in here? Yeah.
they got an alien to come down and do overdubs.
Yeah. Okay. Next song. Watch the World.
Okay.
I love this guitar part. This guitar part's very good.
Like, this is what I'm saying, where like it sounds like what pop punk eventually became. I feel like I've heard this riff at like so many pop punk shows.
Yeah. It's so good. Tom DeLonge can write such catchy riffs, because I think people will dunk on somewhat correctly that Mark and Tom aren't like amazing musicians, which I think they know. Like they like Travis is the only one with chops, but like they can write such catchy riffs. They have such a gift for that specifically that it's like that's the hard part. The easy part is practicing every day. The hard part is having like the touch. That's the hard part. That doesn't come to everybody. Which I feel like is for sure shown on this album, with a lot of the guitar riffs.
Yeah, I also think that he is great at writing vocal melodies that fit the chord progression. Like there's like a talent to like, I know how to write a vocal melody that a stadium of people can shout.
Yeah. Yeah. There's it's just this is more true in later songs, but there's just like lines that just feel perfect.
Yeah.
Like the way that he says it, the melody on it, like the words, it just feels perfect.
Virginia.
Yeah. I saw Virginia get rid of Langley. Which again, the song's about 9/11, obviously. I watched the smoke as it grew darker and blew up through the roof. I saw the Fed, saw them panic as the fire grew. I saw Virginia get rid of Langley and its secrets too. It's about 9/11, if you couldn't tell. I think the overall theme of it, of like, I saw this perfect thing, we can do this perfect thing. I feel like definitely in the context of now, it feels kind of childish of like, if everybody just got together, then everything would be perfect if we all just got along. Like, but again, it's after 9/11. That's what everybody was doing, of like, okay, we have to kind of be chill with each other.
Yeah.
You know?
Like this is an era where like that Enya song that had come out like years before shot back up to #1 on the Billboard charts, because there were so many like 9/11 videos with that Enya song in it.
Yeah. It's very much a 9/11 song, which I was 1 year old for that. But how old were you at 9/11?
I was there. No, I shouldn't joke about that.
Good one, Seth.
I was I was like 4.
4, okay.
So
you don't remember anything?
I don't remember it. No.
Okay.
I have like
yeah,
siblings like a few years older than me that remember it.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else to say on Watch the World?
I feel like it's something that it's like a good example of like sort of like the core elements of what I think are like the strong suits of this band, which is Tom's writing and Travis's ability to like fill up the empty space with like tasteful drum work stuff. I think like that's so it's interesting that it's in this context that's like, I almost feel like Mark Hoppus would also fit in here really well.
Yeah.
But I feel like this song, it's got like this very post-apocalyptic vibe, which I wrote as a note until I was like, oh, it's actually technically current apocalyptic or past apocalyptic
literally,
now.
yeah.
But I think that with pop punk, when it's done well. There's just it's very effective songwriting and arrangement of like, okay,
Yeah.
small verse, big chorus, or build, or like how are you building
Yeah.
through stuff? How are you building through transitions? Um, what very simple guitar parts can be like the main like chugging element of the
Yeah.
song.
And knowing to like not breakneck, but like you write one thing that's really catchy, don't make people get tired of it. Just go to the next thing. Which
Yeah.
what I feel like the best songs on here, what they do is they take the like super up and down dynamics and they still make it work. They make it like up and then like up into it rather than just up down up down up down. You know what I mean? Of like
Yeah.
even though it's hard cuts, like it's still building over the whole thing.
Yeah,
I feel like Watch the World does pretty good.
because they do like different chord progressions or different vocal melody, and like that can be the thing that adds new interest in this new section.
Yeah. Anything else on Watch the World?
Nothing.
Okay. Next song, Tiny Voices. One of probably my top 3 on here.
Okay.
I obviously, I think for me when I was listening to it, it made sense because this is about a lot of the song is just about growing up, getting older, and like societal pressure.
Yeah.
The bridge of this song, like I don't know how you experience anxiety, but the bridge of this song was like when I heard it, I'm like, that's it. That's what it feels like. Every
Yeah.
single time I get anxious, that's what it feels like. And so like listening to the song, it was like it attached to me of like I like this understands what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That I just will always like have an attachment to this song. Yeah, because the lyrics are simple. They're not anything more than they need to be. I feel like the worst parts of this album are when the lyrics are like trying to be this huge thing when it doesn't really need to be that. But this is like this song is about this. That's just exactly how I'm gonna talk. It's kind of like when we talked about the Modest Mouse of like just say exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
That's where the best art will come from. Don't try to make it anything that it's not. Which I feel like the song does. What did you think about this song?
I feel like this is my favorite vocal performance on the record.
This is Tom DeLonge's best vocal performance. I
like
think
it
ever.
is.
The chorus is so
when it
good.
gets to the well, like from honestly the whole thing. Yeah, from
Yeah,
verse 1,
everything. Yeah.
it's like there's like a spit and a graveliness that he starts out in, but then when he gets to the everybody
Yeah.
will be, and it's just it
Yeah.
sounds like. It's like if you could put an overdrive pedal on somebody's vocals.
Yep.
It's like awesome, and I love how.
Which I love that they
has
literally
this.
didn't just do that because they could have just done that and it would have gotten a similar effect. But the fact that
Uh,
like it's how like sure they did a little bit, but like you could have just gained it up a whole bunch and be like, wow, gritty voice. But it's obviously in his tone, which as much as people make fun of Blink 182 for like, you know, just like all their vowels being 13 hours long.
Yeah.
This
is an example
he
of where
knows how to use his voice.
I feel like this is an example of him like shouting like an old punk guy, like
Yes.
actually like that everybody will be let down, everybody will be let down, and it's like that's like the perfect example of just like sometimes when you get like a good vocalist, you can just like double track it and you're fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Which they did here for all the choruses, and it sounds so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, the bridge is so good. The bridge is so good. The kind of like building to something, dropping out, and then building up again. And then the end, they did the smart thing where they just doubled that everybody will be let down, because that's like one of the best like moments of the song. It's just his vocal performance in that, and so they knew like just do it again, just do the thing again, which I feel like is a skill of pop punk generally, is knowing like you can just keep repeating this and it'll be fine. Like it's catchy enough, you can just do it again. Like you don't have to think too hard about it.
I mean, honestly, that's why I think that a lot of pop writers I know, they say that Blink was like a big influence on them. And part of it, I think, might be because of that, is they're not afraid to be like, this is the catchy part.
Yep.
And let's
do
keep it. We're not
That's the core of
gonna
the song.
we're not gonna do the catchy part, and then never play it again because we're writers and we can write a new part.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that's used super well in Tiny Voices. Also, Tiny Voices has a great guitar part.
Yes.
I love it. It's just so catchy.
This might be my favorite drum part of the
Yes.
record. This is like the
So
if you like drum stuff, or I'll say this, if you want to challenge yourself drumming wise, try to
Yes.
learn this song.
Yeah. Learn this whole album. Learn this whole album. It's such a, I learned this when I was younger. This whole album. I would just listen to the whole thing and just play every song. So fun. Such
Yeah.
a fun album. Anything else on Tiny Voices?
No.
Okay. Next song, Cat Like Thief. This used to be my favorite song of all time.
I was about to say this seems like a song that would be like your favorite song.
Yep. Maybe the weirdest in context song here, just because of how simple it is, how it doesn't build really on itself. It's one drum part the whole time, one guitar part the whole time, and it's just like the melodies that change.
Yeah.
The guy singing in the verses is Tim Armstrong. He's from, I think, Rancid.
Oh, okay.
So he's from Rancid. I also don't know why he sounds like that.
I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was Tom DeLonge with a weird voice.
So there's 3 features on this album. It's not listed anywhere, but there are 3 features on this album. 2 of them are on this song.
Okay.
So he's singing that. This I don't know how to talk about this song, because for me, a thing that I did as a kid is I loved songs that were super like open for interpretation, I guess. And then it was very easy for me to like find like my very personal meaning in the lyrics. And so like I could not tell you what the song is supposed to be about.
Yeah.
I'm too deep in to know any idea. But for me, this song was, this is bringing it down, but this song was associated a lot with both breakups and then with suicide a lot. Where when I was like middle school, high school, probably my biggest problem that I had was like, oh, I can't find anything in here. You be that. You person be that. And so that happened a lot. And so this song for me was about that. I mean, even the lyric, leave me standing on this lonely grave. I dug it out in case she turns away, of like, I'm gonna kill myself if you leave me.
Yeah.
Like that's how the very literal thing meant to me, which I'm doing great now. Like I can happily talk about all this stuff because it was. And shout out my high school girlfriend for telling the counselor that I talked about killing myself.
Shout out to my ride or dies.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. Yeah, but that's what this song is generally associated. And then as I got older, the lyrics of like don't leave her, like it became less of a like a you have to stay because this is your purpose, like this person is. And then it was like for a while then when I was like really bad, it was like thinking about my mom, like you can't leave her here. So this song will always, which again, so much of this, Tom DeLonge didn't write it for that. That's not why he wrote the song. That's not what it's about. But like the attachment I have to this song is like it's something that I can't like justify. I can't like say this is why the song is like this.
Yeah.
It's just because I decided that the song would have meaning to me, and so it did, because it felt exactly how I felt, regardless of like what the meaning of it is.
Yeah. My connection with it was not that deep.
Yeah. Strangely,
My connection
who
with
would've
it was, wow, that's a weird voice.
Yeah.
It sounds like they're only using one drum mic for the whole song. And I like I said, I thought it was Tom DeLonge just putting on a weird voice.
No,
So I
no,
I
it's a
thought it
different
had I thought it had this like weird goofy undertone. So I was just like, okay.
Yeah,
He wanted a goofy song.
yeah. It's a different guy, and then also there's harmonies in the later choruses by what's his name from Newfound Glory, Jordan Pudnick of Newfound Glory.
Oh,
He does
okay.
harmonies. He does harmonies in this song. But that's all he does. He just does harmonies. And like the when it's a don't leave, and he goes the don't leave, or like in the background, that's him.
Yeah.
That's all he does in the song.
Okay.
So that's 2 of the 3 features in this album. We'll get to the third one when we get to it. But yeah, I have a very personal connection to this song. And so it's like I can like factually see like the downsides of the song and like how it like wasn't written perfectly or whatever, but it's like because it already has a place, like it's not going to change whether I want to try to like say like actually I hated that song, which I think in some way that is, I guess I do it sometimes where people will be like, oh, I love this song as a kid, but now I hate it. Like, I can't stand it. Like, you listen to Disturbed as a kid, and you're like, oh, man, I can't believe I did that, or whatever. Like, for me, generally, that doesn't happen, where I'm like, I understand why people don't like this, but it still just has that connection, and so I'm never going to, like, hate it, which I feel like I haven't really done before.
Yeah, no, I think that there's nothing about this song that is worthy of like hating or being embarrassed about.
Yeah.
But it's just like also, I mean, in the context of this record, I do think it is kind of like a nice reprieve from all like the big massive tracks that have been like, let's punch you in the face, but in a sad way.
Yeah. And the song's still sad. I mean, even how he wrote it, "Cat like thief stole air from my lungs." You know, it's still a sad song.
Yeah.
But it's a chill sad song. Yeah, I feel like in the album, it's a great placement for this song.
Agreed.
Okay. Anything else to say about Cat Like Thief?
No.
Okay. Next song, And I. More traditional love song. It is a happy song, but also it feels like attachment issues.
Yeah.
Really strongly. Which I don't know if that was intentional or not. I don't know.
This
Whether
is
he knew he
before
had
they
attachment
do.
issues or
What's
not.
that? What's that thing that they're calling now, where it's like you and somebody else are like you're intertwined, or it's like a therapy word. It's like a therapy buzzword right now.
I wouldn't know.
Meshing.
I don't know.
I don't know. Somebody
no idea.
comment below on
That's so
YouTube
weird.
for anyone listening on YouTube if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
In unhealthy attachment styles.
If you like the video, comment meshing. If you didn't like the video, comment intertwined.
if you don't like if you don't like it, comment
don't like the
9/11.
Oh my gosh. Okay. The song.
To me,
The verse vocals are very good.
Verse vocals are good. To me, this is where like pop punk, it's a double-edged sword where it's really easy for me to listen to it, and it's really accessible for me, and I don't say that in a negative way. This is the point where I'm like, I need something a little bit different. Like now we're hitting that point in the record where it's like, okay, you've been to a live show before where you're just like, I feel like they've played this song already.
Yeah, this is by far the closest to just normal Blink-182 song.
Yeah.
It is the closest to basic Blink-182 on this album. Especially the chugs that go left to right. That's a very Blink-182 thing. The bump 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 bump
Yeah.
bump 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 bump. That's like going left and right. It feels like a Blink-182 B-side. Maybe in quality, maybe not necessarily in quality, but just like it sounds like it could like fit on a Blink-182 song.
Yeah.
Blink-182 album.
I also think it has enough high energy to stuff going on in it to where it could fit in like funny enough, this feels like it would be like a slow song on a Blink album.
Yeah, this would be the reprieve.
Yeah.
Yeah, the verses I think are the best part. His vocals I feel like are very good, and the way the bass hits like at the start of each line I feel like hits really well. The bum ba da ba dum. I am stand
Yeah.
the crown. I feel like that's probably the best part of the song, and then the chorus is like, oh yeah, he wrote another catchy Liquid 82 chorus. You know, I probably have the least to say about this album.
Same. I literally
Um,
used like my that was basically the only note I had, other than like this is the point where I'm normally getting exhausted in a record like this, but
yeah,
there's a little bit of variety just in like how they're
yeah,
arranging stuff,
hmm
like going double time halfway through the
yeah,
chorus, or you know, also like we've said before, like Tom DeLonge is like a great like writer, so
yeah,
I think that it's not that I'm getting tired of his writing at this point. It's just like this is like a version of his writing where it's like I feel like I've heard it a
yeah,
lot, and similar to it's almost the opposite of like Lonesome Crowded West. Like there's
yeah.
so much variety in that record that like it's kind of
That when there's
hard to get
something that is a little bit one note, then it's
it's
like,
hard to get bored with that record just because it changes so drastically, whereas I
hmm
feel like with pop punk they tend to lean on, or
being
there
similar.
tends
Yeah,
to be a cultural sort of
hmm
the whole
yeah,
record is going to sound this way.
yeah. Um, yeah. I feel like this is like in like designing the album like layout. I feel like Cat Like Thief and I, it just feels like two kind of reprieves that I don't think you necessarily needed to. Whether that's
Yeah.
just you move it around or whatever. But yeah, it's not a bad song. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's just the
Also,
one
for
that
anybody
maybe
who
doesn't sleep
tries
well.
to, because I feel like we're gonna give critiques like that throughout the show of just like, I'm getting bored by this point of the record, and people are like, well, what are you talking about? It's like, again, we are judging this as as
It's
two
an album.
people who have listened to the whole album
Yep.
multiple times.
Yep.
We're
Yeah.
not just skipping
It's
to this
about the
one
album
song and
experience.
being like, do I like it or not?
Yeah. Yeah. Um. Yeah. I don't have a whole much more to say about this. Okay. Next song. Definitely not any of the stuff that we just talked about. Letters
Yeah,
to
no.
God. This maybe also in my top three on this. It might be Letters to God, Cat Like Thief, and Tiny Voices. This is an honestly pretty simple song. It's just low verse, low chorus, and then big chorus. The first like half of the song is just acoustic, and then it kind of builds up and goes into a full band, which was very much a '90s rock band thing to do. Third Eye Blind did it, Blink-182 did it. Like it. This is a product of its time. The structure of the song, I think it fits for the song for sure. This song is exactly what it's talking about, letters to God. It's like very much him thinking about like what happens when I die. What do I think? What do other people think? Am I okay with that? Like, what would I say if that was right? Like, what does that make me feel about how I'm living my life? It feels like his lyrics still feel very Tom DeLonge, where I feel like the worst lyrics from Tom are when he's trying to like be something that he's not. And this is very much like honest, and he's not trying to like, well, this is a deep song, so I have to change how I write. Like, no, this is a deep song, and so I'm going to continue to write the way that I write.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like the simplicity, I feel like it adds to the song rather than takes away.
Yeah, I do feel like there's a part of me that wishes like I understand that it starts out acoustic and that it eventually gets bigger, but there is a part of me that wishes there was just a full song of when the band is big.
If it
That's the
was just like
danger. That's the
more,
danger
yeah.
of when you have a song where it starts out acoustic and then it goes big to a full band. Is if you
Yeah.
make the
Is
full
if you like
band,
the band better,
if you like the full band version better, the natural response is
yeah,
that should have been the whole
do
song.
that more. Yeah. Yeah. But I think it's also a strength of generally pop punk in general. I won't say pop punk, maybe not pop punk in general, but definitely Blink. They know they want you to leave wanting more rather than ever to want you to leave being like, man, that was a slog. Because even though this is a 13 song album, it's less than 50 minutes.
Yeah, it's
And like all the songs
pretty.
are like 3 minutes, you know?
It's pretty fast paced, even in
Yeah.
just like arrangement. Things aren't really drawn out that much.
Yeah, which I feel like is a positive of the genre. That you will like if you write a good punk song, like write a good punk album, like you will not be bored necessarily if you enjoy punk.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the song. I get what you're saying. I think that's also just like a Travis and Tom are so good that it's like, oh yeah, the end of the song, let's just do this little part, and it's like very good, very catchy. Sounds great. His again, I mean, just assume on every song we love his drums.
Yeah.
His drums are so good everywhere. Even Cat Like Thief, try to play that because it just sounds like a basic beat, but there's just a little bit like off kilter thing on it that honestly makes it a little bit tricky to play. But yeah, I really like this song. I feel like he wanted to do this style of song, and I feel like he did exactly what he set out to do.
Yeah, no, it's something that I think. Yeah, I make the joke of like I wish the whole song was like the end, but it's because like I do think that it is like a good chorus, and I do think that you know for whatever Tom DeLonge's idiosyncrasies as a person or beliefs on aliens and stuff like that, he can write a chorus.
Yeah,
And
that man can write a chorus.
That man can write a chorus, and I also feel like that is kind of a rite of passage. I feel like with a pop punk band is, does your stuff sound good on an acoustic?
Yep.
Like if you can get, it's funny how it became like a trend on YouTube to just do like pop punk covers with like 2 acoustic guitars and a cajon. But it's like
I feel like people have taken that too far, where it's like you're just playing
Yes.
the same exact parts, and you're putting the guitar through so much that you're basically just playing an electric
yes,
guitar.
you're playing the D shape and you're moving it up to
Yeah.
whatever key you're on, and
Yeah.
that's your second guitar part, and then the other
Yeah.
guy is playing power chords.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like just use an electric guitar. You're not doing the spirit of what you're trying to do.
but it's like, it also, if you want to ever hear like a really good version of that, go to the Guitar Center YouTube channel and listen to Thrice's acoustic session of Anthology. That's a really great example.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that this is a really good. It's a simple song. I feel like it's not. Yeah, it's hard to, with all these songs, whenever I have like a negative thing about them to say, it's important to say it's like it's negative in the context of this record that I think has some really good songs on it, and it's like
Yeah.
I wish that this 7 out of 10 song was as good as this 9 out of 10.
Yeah. 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 Okay. Do you have anything else to say about Letters to God?
No.
Okay. Next song, my first punk song. So when I was checking the lyrics, I used Genius, which I don't really look at the like what people wrote generally, like when people like mark out on like what this lyrics means or whatever. But on this song, if you look on Genius, so this song, for context, it's just straight like punk, fast beat, and then just like riffing guitars the whole time. It's only a minute long. The verses, like, I hate the government. The chorus is like, your mom made me brownies and it gave me syphilis. Very, very punk song. It sounds exactly like what he's talking about. But if you go to Genius, he says this isn't a no word, but at the end of each chorus, he says, I got no dick at the end of it, of everything. Yeah. And if you look at Genius, there's no annotations except for the 2 times he says that. The first time the annotation is his penile member is unaccounted for, and the second time it says his penile member is still unaccounted for. Those are the only annotations on the whole song.
And
I was like, why is it just on that part?
Because I wanted to know exactly what he meant by.
What does he mean by that? Yeah, what's the deeper meaning of that lyric? Yeah, I feel if you were getting like bored and like felt like the pace of this record was going down, this is like do a line of coke real quick before you get into the rest of the album.
Because it's also really short. It's like a minute 40 seconds.
It's literally like a palate cleanser of punk is how I would describe it.
Yeah, and because of that, I actually don't mind it.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't overstay its welcome at all. Definitely
No.
not. Which I feel
Also,
like
just
if he
like the
tried to do
idea,
that in a whole song, it would suck.
and the idea of like him just doing this like
Hmm.
because it's like one vocal and he's got like a telephone
Yep.
effect on it, and it's
Hmm.
literally like I wouldn't be surprised if them cutting this song was like a 2 or 3 take thing where they just got the
Yeah.
full band and they were like, okay, this is what
All
we're
right,
doing it.
just go for it. Yeah, yeah. Which is Travis's drums are so good on that song. Travis loves when it's like, okay, we're gonna do like a really like 1 minute song, just 2 minute song that we're throwing in there. He goes ham every single time on all of their
Yeah.
albums, and on this one, there's not an exception. Okay, not a whole lot more to say about that song. Next song, Sorrow.
Which is a a little bit. I don't know if
Bring
it's
your rabbit.
like I don't want to say if it's deeper than my first punk song, but it's not. It's not what that last song was.
Yeah, yeah. Because my first punk song, it has like it's not all joke lyrics. But Sorrow. I'll get the lyrics up. Again, it feels like a love song that I'm not sure if he knows feels like attachment issues.
Yeah.
But it feels like a breakup song. Um, uh, like it's a trying not to break up song is what I wrote. Um, it's pretty simple. I really like the main riff, the bam 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 bam, as it kind of like fades out. I feel like that's just like a one little fun trick to add to the riff that makes it more than the sum of its parts. Of just like you just literally fade it out and then just play it again, like just every single time you play it, just fade it out by the time you get to the end of it.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a fun, interesting thing to do with that riff. This again, the dynamics of verse to chorus are so high and different. And then of course they have an instrumental bridge because they do that on almost every song, which I like. I like them generally. But yeah, the song is just. I feel like the instrumental is better than the lyrics on this song, which I feel like before they've been pretty tied together. But this one is just like a little bit too simple. It seems like it feels like I don't know. It just feels like there could have been a little bit more put in there.
Yeah.
Me?
It also is like a slower song. Like
Yeah.
it's tempo wise, it's not as which might be why they put my first punk song before it,
Yeah.
just so you could get like the most whiplash as possible out of
Yeah.
like jumping from one tempo to the other. But
Yeah.
yeah, I would agree. It's kind of on the simpler side, and you kind of like what I was saying before. This is where I'm kind of getting tired of like a pop punk record. Is where if it feels like I'm hearing this kind of over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I do think that is cool is the way that they're dynamically like using the drum
Yep.
mics in the mix.
Yep.
So they're like pulling down. It sounds like a lot of the direct mics are like the really heavy like processing that they're doing in the chorus, and they're like pulling
Mm-hmm.
it out
Yeah.
until they get to that point, and everything is just
Yeah.
like really tight and
Mm-hmm.
like almost like overheads and room mics and a
Yeah.
little bit of punch, but it's like then when it gets to the chorus they turn on all the punch.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's just so much of because it could have just been okay. We're just gonna do dynamics where we play quiet here, go loud here, and that would have been an innovation for punk.
Yes.
But I feel like they do it in a lot of really smart ways, which I feel like they definitely do it here. I also really enjoy the end of the song, how it just ends with Travis Barker just like continuing to drum while the whole band cuts out.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a better version than when people just fade down the song. Like in the 80s, they just always just fade it out for like 45 seconds. But here you just get to hear Travis keep drumming until it like
Yep.
slowly fades out, which I enjoy. I feel like that's a great way to end the song. I feel like
Yeah.
this song works. I think the placement of this song is perfect in the album. Right after my first punk song, and towards the end, I feel like Sorrow and First Punk Song make sense going right next to each other. Like you're saying, the whiplash, it makes both things kind of feel not necessarily like done a whole bunch.
Yeah. I would also say this and like a couple of other songs, there's more piano on them than I thought there would be,
Yep. There's a
which
lot
I
of
was
piano
expecting
in
there
this.
to be zero.
Yeah, of course. Why would there be piano in here? Yeah. Even Blink has a decent amount of just like little piano parts. But he definitely does it almost every song in here. I've just had a little bit of piano. Okay. Ready for the next song?
Yep.
Okay, there is. This was the biggest song. It is the most just love song. But again, weirdly with this song, it's important that you know that this is right after 9/11.
Yes.
Because it's very much just like the world is moving at a crazy fast pace. I just want somebody that like, are you also seeing this? Like, am I crazy? Am I the only person that feels like this? Like, it's that as a love song.
I miss the grinding concrete.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah. I also noticed in here there's a like people that put the annotations on Genius. They're like, because they overlook into it because he goes, the days have come and gone, our lives went by so fast. Like, you know, time is going on, like I'm getting older, like it feels like the world's moving around me. And the annotation somebody put is like, the world is ending because of 9/11. It's just like off the rocker.
I would love what if somebody started like a conspiracy theory group, a conspiracy theory genius group specifically for Blink 182 lyrics, and they were like, it
gosh.
didn't involve Tom DeLonge at all.
It's not at all about the stuff. It's different than what he's talking about.
Yeah, no, there is an actual conspiracy theory, but it's not about aliens. It's about like Bigfoot running the government.
Yeah. Just completely different. You're way off the mark. Okay. I like this song. It's a catchy song. I feel like it helps kind of ramp the album down. It feels like the album's been ramping down for the last few songs, excluding First Punk Song. But I mean, this is just a catchy song. I like it. I feel like it does exactly what it needs to. Travis, again, not overplaying, just has this like drum roll that's perfect. Because it's not just, of course, it's not just a drum roll. Like he has to do a little weird thing in it, but like it just fits perfectly. Yeah, this is the only like true acoustic-ish song. On
Yeah, where it like doesn't go to like a big full band thing.
Yeah. Which I like. I feel like it's a good reprieve.
Yeah, I can see why this and I can see why this one and I Feel So were like the singles off this record, or the two biggest ones.
Ends. Yep. Yeah. It makes sense because I think they capture kind of the two different vibes to the most extreme. Yeah. I don't have a whole lot to say about the song. I just feel like it's a pretty good love song. Pretty good, you know.
I'm trying to think with this stuff. I guess this would be a question for you because you would probably know about it more than me. How critically acclaimed was this album when it came out? Was it like it got recognition for like being a side project of Blink but not much beyond that, or was it like this became like people's like favorite record?
I don't know if it's a whole lot of people's favorite. It definitely is. Like, I think generally, like Blink fans love this album. Generally,
Okay,
they're like, man, I feel like Boxcar Racer was a great, because it is kind of a turning point for Blink 182 creatively. But then again, they broke up right after that turning point and then waited like 10 years or whatever. But like Blink fans, I think generally really like this album, and think that it's like a fun creative departure. That I think a lot of people think has a lot of artistic merit. But I think wider than the audience, I think people just thought, oh, cool, like side project. I don't think it's like a crazy, like it didn't go outside of their scope. Like it was kind of, here's Blink 182 and then like here's Boxcar Racer. It never like really went outside of it, I feel like.
Yeah, it's because I'm listening to this and I'm just like this to me feels the most. I guess I'm not as familiar with the acoustic side of Blink, but to me this feels like the most Blinkish.
Yeah.
In terms, but I guess I'm also looking at that through the lens of like bands I know that say they were inspired by Blink and like
Yeah.
that connective tissue.
Yeah. I think And I is closer to actual Blink. Blink hasn't done a whole bunch of acoustic. They had an EP that was acoustic that is kind of similar to this song, but I feel like this definitely does have a different niche than like what an acoustic Blink song would be.
Yeah,
So it's definitely, I mean, the And I and There Is are definitely the most Blink songs on here.
yeah,
Besides technically one of them, which we'll get to. But yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say about it. I feel like it's a catchy song. It doesn't feel like it has attachment issues, so it's my favorite love song.
that's good.
Yeah,
The first emotionally healthy song on the record.
yeah, probably. Yeah. Anything else to say about it?
I'm also assuming that this album was maybe not responsible for it, but like encouraging the stereotype of the pop punk artist having a crush on their local barista and writing a whole album about them, but never talking to them.
No, I don't, there actually is a music video for this, and I think they literally do the boombox over the head, like at the girl's window, like waking her up, and like in the rain while they're playing, and his hair's all down. So it's definitely going for that vibe.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else to say about the song?
No.
Okay. Next one. End With You. Back to like the start of the album, basically.
Yeah. I prefer these kinds of songs where there is kind of like a hardcore style riff that has a little bit of a punky vibe to it. It's like not as sad as hardcore
I mean, it's
stuff.
for sure
but
still sad, but yeah.
it's sad, but it's still like when you listen to actual like post-hardcore stuff, it's a lot closer to hardcore than like pop punk. There's actual like the same way that when you listen to I'm not going to try to list off a bunch of hardcore bands, but like it's closer to like that metal world where it's like it actually sounds dark and it's made to be aggressive and like in the pit.
Yeah.
Whereas this to me still feels like a pop punk band playing hardcore-ish.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely feels like he's inspired by that, but he's not just trying to like, I'm just going to do that now. Like it's definitely like, I'm taking what I know and I'm also adding that to it. Is definitely what it feels like. Yeah, I really like this song. I feel like this is a great song to have towards the end, to kind of like pump you up one more time. I really like the lyrics in this. Weirdly, I think this is the best example of sometimes Tom sings something in a melody and the way he says it, it just sounds perfect and it's just like earworm that gets there. Like feel the world collapse around me, stuff like that in there. The one that I love, where is it in the song? Where is it? Where he says, I remember an amazing birthday. I remember when I was young. That just the way he sings that is like perfect in my brain. It just makes sense. And also I feel like the lyrics here are one of the more honest on here. There are no useful drugs to escape from feeling numb. He was like on lots and lots of Vicodin when he wrote this because he had like terrible back problems right after like touring with Blink-182. So it feels like genuinely really honest, and he isn't just saying that because it sounds cool or whatever.
Yeah, I think that this is I like this song. I do think that when I was listening to it, it's like when you understand the context of like he's on the Vicodin from Blink and he's on a break
Right
and
after
this
9/11.
album's about right after 9/11. Like when you know that, a lot of it's like, okay, I can enter into this. I would say that when I didn't know that was like the context behind it, I was like, what are these lyrics?
Yeah. They make perfect. These are 2002 lyrics.
Yes.
Yeah. For
There
sure.
there are some cool stuff though. This has like one of the trademark things that Blink does that I constantly have to do for clients. Which is really fun, but it's like the flanger on the room mics.
Yeah.
So like at 2 minutes, 2 minutes 7 seconds, there's like this breakdown where you just put a flanger on the drum kit and get this like effect,
Yeah.
and it's awesome. It's fun. I do it all the time. And then there's like a crazy like stuttery hi-hat part at like
This honestly may be my favorite piece of drums in the whole album is that little instrumental break, because he just like he goes ham in like a good amount of space. He doesn't like take
Yes.
up way too much space in there. He's like, this is the space I'm allotted. I'm like using every square inch of space that you're giving me.
yeah.
It because he's basically just kick, hi-hat, snare, and he goes crazy. It's
Yeah.
wild.
That is an interesting
it.
thing to think about, is how like he's able to quote unquote overplay. I don't think he is, but he's able to overplay in a context that like works for the record that he's on.
Yep.
And on some level, I think that's why he became like a really good producer. It's like
Yep.
I know he's done a ton of stuff for like MGK.
Yeah.
I mean at this point it's like, are you really a pop punk person if you don't fly to LA and have Travis Barker produce your next record?
Yep.
But there's there's like a sensibility of just like what is like a tasteful amount of overplaying, what is and also I think Tom DeLonge probably knowing that too, of like when we're working on this song, oh okay,
He
here
knows
let
his
me
strength, yeah.
let me write something really
This is just
sparse
like
on the
Travis,
guitar.
Travis, go off here.
Yeah, Travis, go off here.
Yeah. And of course their guitar parts and drum parts I feel like are just like they fit really, really well together. Just because they've had the years of doing it. Yeah, I really like that song. Do you have more to say about the End With You?
No.
Okay. All right. Next song.
Now, the song that instantly
Elevator.
made sense when you said that this was about 9/11.
Yep. So this song is about a guy jumping off a building, and then the second verse is about somebody watching that same guy jump off a building. Did you notice anything strange about this song? About the second verse?
It sounds like Mark Hoppus.
It's Mark Hoppus.
Okay.
Mark Hoppus is on this. Isn't that wild that there's so much about like they got torn apart and like he's on the album, which I think I'm not saying like he's not valid for thinking, but like it was very much he had this song and he was like, oh, Mark would fit great with this verse. I'll put him on this verse. And then that was it. And so I get, it doesn't like, it's not like, well, Mark, you were on the album. You shouldn't think about like it still makes sense of like you, Travis, wrote the whole thing. And I just like got here for one part of it. But I think it's funny how much is talked about like this being like the beginning of their rift, and Mark is also on the album. It's just really funny to me. But this is the most Blink-182 album because all the members of Blink-182 are on this song.
Yeah. I think that there's I mean, it's interesting to think about. I remember watching I think there was like a Reverb YouTube video where they interviewed Travis Barker at his like home studio now. And he talked about how their process for Blink albums used to be that he would like record all the drums and then he would leave, and then Mark and Tom would just record all the guitars and the bass and everything and spend all the time there with vocals and things like that.
Yeah.
And so, but I think they changed that as it went on to where like Travis was also in the studio with them all the time.
Yeah.
So it probably, I'm not saying that he was valid in his feelings, other than like I can imagine you have a process where you are in a band with these two guys and like you have your studio workflow down of just like you come in, like drummer comes in, does this, or Travis does this, and then you and Tom sit there and you do all this stuff together, and and you and Tom sitting there and doing all this stuff together is like kind of what makes the album. And then he's like, "Hey, do you want to come in for this thing?" And you sing one verse and then you leave.
Yeah. Yeah. It's for sure. I understand why he felt the way that he did at that time.
Yeah.
But they're together again. They broke up, got together again for an album, broke up again after that. A different guy joined Blink-182. Then that guy left, and now they're together again,
Yeah, which
which is great.
I think
so
that's the
happy for
best
them.
way to do it because
Yep.
as much as I've talked about things I don't like on this album, I dislike Plus 44 even
Yeah.
more.
I think this is the better side project for sure.
Yeah.
In my brain.
Which it feels like a jerk thing to say, but also it's funny because Travis is also on that album.
Yep. Travis is like, I'm staying out of the drama.
It's just like I'll play
he
on
didn't get any
everybody's
part of
record,
it.
just don't get angry.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I really like this song. This honestly, actually, maybe this is my fourth favorite. I really like this song. I really, really like this song. Obviously, when I was listening to this, like in middle school, high school, super depressed, song about jumping off a building. Obviously, I'm drawn to that. But this again does the cat like thief thing where it's pretty simple throughout the whole song. Like it's just kind of one beat basically the whole time. Just one part through the whole thing, and then you just change the vocal melody.
Yeah,
I
I
really like that vibe.
I think it's a fun vibe. I think this vibe comes a little bit too late for me at this point in
Yeah.
the record because we are at the second to last track on
This is the
the
last real
album.
song. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we'll get into that after.
Yeah.
But I think that by this point I'm kind of done. Like by this, I'm just like, okay, let's
Mm-hmm.
let's wrap things up. I'm feeling that around this song.
Yeah.
And there are some interesting decisions that they do, like hiring a string section to play for the last 10
Yeah.
seconds of the fade out.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
I think, yeah, a lot of it has the same vibe as that cat like thief thing, which now I think the reason why it's hitting more is because now I feel like there's like two songs where I'm like,
Yep.
or it's like there was already like a moment where I felt like something kind of got repeated, and then maybe like something got half repeated. Now I feel like we're
Yeah.
at like 2.5 to 3 times of repeating a vibe.
Mm-hmm. I like it though. I really.
It
like
is a
this
good song. It is a good song.
Yeah. I think in the album, I understand what you're saying, but I think that it is intentional that they didn't end on the high note and they chose to put this song basically at the end. Like, I feel like that diversion, because Blink is always like, end with, like, start with big song, end with big song. That's what you always do. But the kind of like, there's freaking, what is that? There's a little guy there. I need to check my green screen. But the
It jumps on you.
Yeah. The just like, I don't know, it feels like it fits the vibe of it just being like, I'm sad, everything sucks right now. The end. I feel like it really fits the like lyrical themes of the album. I mean, it's
Yeah.
literally like you end the album, jump off a building, and the crazy like concept of like this is one person's talking about what they're thinking while they're jumping off a building, another person watching as they see that, and then the hook at the end is let's forget this, all move on.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what they keep singing.
This is a peak example of like when people talk. I saw something where, it might have just been promo for this record, but like Tom saying like this was a project where he like wanted to write. He was going to use this as a way to get out all of the songs that were a little bit too heavy for Blink stuff. This song is a peak example of like it would be bad to put this on
That's
a
what
Blink
it's talking
record.
about. Yeah. You hear like a Blink song, and then into this would be pretty jarring. Yeah.
Then parents would get really mad.
Yeah, really upset. Before they just said no words. Now they're talking about jumping up buildings. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like this song. Yeah. I don't have a whole bunch to say because it's such a simple concept, but I really like it. I personally really like it being at the end. Um, it just feels like again, even ending your album with "Let's forget this, all move on." Like that was definitely a choice to end like that. And also having Mark on the last album, I feel like listening to this in retrospect, like as a Blink-182 fan, as a Boxcar Racer fan, I really love that the album ends with this song.
Well, it technically doesn't end with that song,
Yeah, going on to the next song.
which is just called
Instrumental.
instrumental.
It's a 2-minute instrumental.
And this is the thing that I have a problem with is I feel like this would have been my favorite song on the record if they had just put vocals on it.
Yeah, I really like it. It's I listening to the album, I'm like, oh yeah, you put just a little thing at the end. But then thinking about it, like, why is the instrumental at the end of the album?
Yeah, it's
I
like
don't know
this.
the literal reason why they did it.
It feels like it could have fit as like a reprieve or something like that, like earlier
Yep.
in, just to like give a little bit more space,
Yeah.
which I felt like was kind of needed. I
Mhm.
felt like there was a point where it's like, okay, we need like a break of something else, and this would have been like a great like because there's just so much weird ear candy in it and so
Mhm.
much like
It's
bell
a catchy
chimes.
instrumental. Yeah, weird
Uh,
stuff in it.
so I'm surprised that it is like the last song on the record.
Yeah, it is. It is weird that this is the last song. It's very strange. I love the little like bells that are just like a little bit off, and like it's not that they're detuned, but like the harmonies in it are like tritones and stuff, and it just sounds really off. The wow 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 wow, that little like weird string thing. It
Yeah,
sounds like when you take your guitar and you strum above the frets. You know what I mean?
yeah.
That's what it sounds like to me. And so as a kid, when I heard this, I was like, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. And of course, I don't think it's literally that, but
Mom, look at this
Um,
song I learned. Cling, cling.
clang, clang. Yeah. But there's just so much little ear candy because it's just like down weird creepy part and then just like big guitars part, and it just goes back and forth like one or two times before the song ends, and
Yeah,
that's it. 2 minutes of that, which both parts are very catchy, and so and it's only
yeah.
2
There's a
minutes,
great
so it doesn't
contrast
overstay
between
anything.
those two sections.
Yeah,
I just wish
yeah,
there was more of that in the rest of the record.
yeah. It's weird because I feel like Elevator is such a great way to end the album. At least thinking in retrospect, Elevator is a great way to end the
Yeah.
album, and it's just weird that this is just also here. Like I just wish it was in a different spot. It's like one more thing.
This song
I
is
forgot
the
to tell
little
you.
brother that got forced to be brought to the party.
Yeah, yeah, I like it. That's yeah. I think a lot of, at least from what it seems like, a lot of this album, some of the pinpoints for you are just how it's structured. And I think this is the biggest one of like, why is this at the end? Why isn't this earlier? Because it felt like it needed an instrumental earlier in the album. Yeah. Okay. Do you have any more
That-
general thoughts about the album?
I don't have any thoughts on specific tracks from the album. Would you want to move into closing thoughts?
Yeah. What'd you think
So
about
here,
it?
you go first.
Okay. I like this album a whole bunch. This is one of those albums where sometimes you can be like, okay, I know that I have like nostalgia for this, but I know like when I'm thinking about it critically, I know that I think about this. I just like, this is one of those that I just can't like, I can't fully separate those. I can as much as possible, but it's like, it's like you go to a restaurant and the guy that owns that restaurant, like, you choked and he saved your life, but the food isn't that great, and so you're like, I hate that restaurant. Like, no, you still go to that restaurant. Like, you know what I mean? That's how I feel about this album.
I thought you were going a completely different direction.
No. Do you know what I mean, though? It's like,
No.
I can't just pretend that. Well, it's just like, I can't separate my personal attachment to this album from trying to think about it critically, which I don't think that people should do when they're thinking about album, because I think the idea of separating that is like, well, now I'm thinking about it objectively, and it's like, nothing you say about this is going to be objective. None of your opinions about it, none of your rating, nobody's rating of any album is ever objective, of course, other than mine, because my opinions are all perfect.
Yep.
But I think I get annoyed when people try to separate those too much, And I get it, like, I know this album is bad, but I heard it when I was a kid. Like, that, of course, you have to separate at least a little bit, but I don't feel that way about this. Yeah, I really enjoy it being a Blink fan. I was super excited when I found this. If they keep doing stuff, I hope they kind of go back to stuff that's similar to this. I think that would be very interesting. It's been teased before that like Boxcar Racer might do something else. I honestly don't think it's ever going to happen.
Maybe a reunion tour.
Yeah, something like that. But I very much doubt there's going to be another album. Because even after it, like right after it, he was like, yeah, that's all I wanted to get out. Like that satisfied its purpose. Which they did do tour after this. But
Tell him he could do a Boxcar Racer album on Aliens.
yeah.
Aliens
I'll let
did
you-
9/11. Then that will be
three songs about aliens. 6, 4, 5.
That's how they negotiate for his
to do
record
albums.
contracts.
That's
Like,
actually
okay,
why they
Tom.
broke up.
It's like, okay,
how they
Tom,
broke
we've gone through the lawyers, we've gone through the agreements. You get 3 songs on Aliens.
Yeah.
It's like I
Do you
want
know-
7.
Do you know Blink-182 literally has a song called Aliens Exist?
Yes.
And that's literally what it's about. It's great. I love it. Never change.
Your rating
I
for the
really
album.
like That's so hard. Man. As an album, I feel like I would give it 8.5.
Okay.
I feel like that's justified for how I feel about it without like taking myself away from it, because that's the whole point.
Yeah.
What do you think? I know yours is probably going to be lower than mine, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah. No, it's so for me, here's how I'm viewing it is I am not a Blink fan. Not in the sense of like I don't like them, but in the sense of I didn't have an attachment to them in my musical journey. So for me, I'm listening to this purely as like here is an album from the 2000 early aughts about 9/11. That is my
Yeah, basically.
that is what I'm going into it as, and I like it. There's a lot of stuff to like about it, and I would say that it is overall a positive experience listening to this record. I get a little, again, if we're gonna judge Sleep Token in the way of like how does it feel listening through the album, and that's how we're judging it. To me,
Sleep
there's
Token though is like the amount of
no. You don't get to
stuff on
interject
this
to try to
album
protect your
is
favorite
like what
album.
they do in
I'm
one
gonna use
song.
the same logic. I'm gonna use the same logic we used on Sleep Token for your
You also
album.
didn't like that album.
Yeah, I know, but that's the thing is I have to judge it fairly off of like what is my experience going through it, like top to bottom, and I've done that multiple times, and every time it's consistently been like there's too many repeat moments for me. There's too many notes that kind of get hit the same time over and over again. And the positives about it are really positive, which is like Tom DeLonge's songwriting. And there's some
the
wake up
drumming.
moments like his vocal delivery
Yes.
and
Oh my
and the Travis Barker's drumming. Travis Barker's drumming gives like a whole point
Yeah.
to this record.
Yeah.
So
10, the whole thing.
yeah, I would if Travis Barker wasn't on this record, to me it would be like a 6 or a 6.5. But because he's on here and he's filling it out, it's a 7 for me.
Okay. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Okay. If you could, this doesn't mean anything, but if you like were moving tracks around and could like chop and screw it, is there like the instrumental is an obvious one, like put that
Yeah.
earlier. Like, is there like it obviously makes sense to move this here? Did you have those thoughts?
Yeah, just in terms of, well, some of it is like organization of like, yeah, if we move the instrumental earlier in the record, that would make it a little bit more reprieve. But then even reorganizing some of the tracks, like some of them just have too many moments that feel this. And on some level, I'm complaining about pop punk and how
Yeah.
it sounds as
That's
a
a genre
genre. But
Which this
Yeah, I
I
think-
feel like is further from that than the normal like pop punk album where every song is the
I
same.
think this record could be increased by like a half point if
Yeah.
you
By
reorder
just
some of
moving
the
stuff around.
tracks.
Yeah. That makes sense. Okay. Well, we don't hate each other yet.
No,
the
not yet.
podcast will end when we hate each other. When in a calendar year we will listen to Glory Sound Prep and John Van Duce's I Am Origami Part 2. And that will be a heated one.
Oh, that will actually be like a heated one.
That'll be very heated. That's an album that when we did like the trial run of this in person, an album Seth loves, has a tattoo of, I gave a very bad rating. And an
Yes.
album that I love and would get a tattoo of if I had any. And Seth was like, I don't get it. I feel like it's pretty boring. And so we basically did that to each other. So I feel
We
like
need to keep those in our back pockets, though,
Yep.
just in case anybody in the podcast history is like, you guys agree too much. You two are too agreeable.
Yeah.
We can be like, no, we have video evidence of us hating each other.
I feel like let's do those albums on the year anniversary of when we start. So that we
Okay.
put them out. So a year for when we're recording this tomorrow. A year from tomorrow.
All right.
And then we just go over those again. And hopefully by that time we've like shown enough of like why I like this kind of music to each other that it's like, okay, I get where you're coming from. So we'll see.
Yeah, that sounds
We'll
good.
see. Yeah. What did I give it? I gave it like a 3. I think a 3 or a 2. I gave it
Well,
a
no,
really
you
low
gave
score.
a Glory Sound Prep a 4, like a
Yeah.
4.5, and then you gave Sad People Dancing a 3.
Oh yeah, I gave that one a 3. Yeah, that one was boring.
And
Okay, let's
yeah,
not
I
rehash
felt
that.
yeah.
Mhm.
Otherwise,
get
we'll
into
end
that
the
when we do this.
podcast.
Yeah. So when we did this at the beginning, we were like shaking hands, like I promise not to hate you by the end of the episode. And after Sad People Dancing, I was like, well, we still don't hate each other. And Seth was like, well, I don't know
Well,
about that. He
I'm
was like-
invoking my right.
Oh, and then
to...
at the end of it, what did you say? I was like, out of 10,
Well,
how
we
would
were
you
rating.
rate? Like,
All right, here's my defense. We were rating. We were rating each other on. We were stuck in album rating mode, so we were rating it like
Oh,
5
gosh.
is neutral, and then like anything above 5 is positive, and then anything below 5 is negative. And you were just like, on a scale from 1 to 10, how much
how do you feel about me
hate
right now? Yeah.
Or it's like I'm just like there's like a baseline level of like 5.
You said, do you remember what you said? Because I don't think you remember the number that you said. What did you think you said?
What I just said right now is what I remember saying.
You said 3. So even with that logic, you're like, I don't like you as a person more than normal.
No, so that's the thing is I said like on a scale of 1 to 10, like
Oh gosh.
just have a baseline level. Because it's not like I have 100% pure feelings towards you all the time.
But like 5 out of 10 is like somebody, we're rehashing the same thing. 5 out of 10 is like somebody you random met on the street. Like I have no feelings towards them. And you're
No,
like,
see, that's
I
the thing.
hate
You're
you more
rating
than that.
my review of you the same way we reviewed albums, and that's not how the
That's
question
what you were
was formed.
doing. But that's what you were doing. That's what your whole.
That wasn't what I was doing.
Okay. Well,
Also,
well,
you just dissed an album that I have a tattoo of.
Yeah.
And said that it was a 3 and
Two
said
of
that
them.
it wasn't inventive.
Yeah.
And it's like
Yeah.
the reason me and several friends have made a band.
Yeah. Tattoo better albums.